They call you, I don't know if you know this or not, but people don't call you Crypto Daily anymore. You're like
They
Crypto
don't?
sometimes. No,
No, that is so
I
witty.
swear. I swear, if
No,
you read any forums where people talk about you, you're either called Crypto sometimes, Crypto never.
I've heard them all,
Uh,
mate. All.
yeah,
Crypto
yeah, but that's
Yearly is my favorite. Um, yeah, no, it doesn't. I've been asked this. Does it offend me? Does it annoy me? And I will keep the name just because of those people that think that they're being witty or they think that they're getting to me. So if anyone's listening and wants to know why, my name's Crypto Daily, but I don't make daily videos. I named myself Daily when I started, and my videos were easy to produce back then. Now I'd put in a little bit more effort. So I don't think people want me to be daily, but they actually don't. If I was, it'd be different. There wouldn't be any memes. So,
no.
I threaten that threaten people with that. They'd be like, okay, whatever you want.
But you've introduced a level of quality in the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin genre, whatever you want to call it, for YouTube that nobody else has ever done.
you know,
Um,
I don't really like to accept praise or think I'm worthy of it, but I do remember what the space was like when I started, and it was pretty not like grim, but in terms of effort, there just almost was none from anyone almost.
can you watch your first video
Uh,
and not cringe?
Um, I'm just trying to remember what it was. Most likely, most likely. What about yours?
Oh God, I can't watch it. I can't watch my first. Actually, my first videos of crypto. I mean, they're not even up anymore because their relevance was just so bad. But I couldn't. I watched it maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and I was cleaning out some old stuff, and I was like, "Why did anyone even watch this? What
Yeah,
is this?" But that that quality at the time was like the standard of crypto
yeah,
YouTube. Crypto YouTube had the worst quality, and what was funny was it actually had some before YouTube caught on to it. It had some of the highest watch times too.
huh.
It did a crypto content creator that had less than 100,000 subscribers could easily hit 100,000 views.
Mm.
Case in point, look at Superman. Far before he hit 100K, he was doing 100,000 views. I had a video that did 500,000 views, and I only had at that time 20,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, what year are you talking about? I remember Supo getting 100K every day. It was like, I don't know, early 2018.
Yeah, well, I think that changed in late 2018. I think late 2018 is
Mm,
when they
for
really
sure.
started to slow it
I
down.
was a super
And
bear
then,
market in 2018 and for our channels. Like the amount of people on subbing, uh, you know, lost thousands. It
did
was
you?
brutal. Yeah, I did. It
No
absolutely
kidding.
did. I don't know how many, like 5, 6,000, I think, unsubbed over the year.
Wow,
But
that's
I'm pretty sure
surprising because you
everyone
weren't
had
much
that.
of a. You really weren't much of a shill at that time.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I came off quite lucky in the fact that I wasn't like a perma bull throughout the year. I mean, I probably had my tendencies to be more bullish, but long term, that's always seemingly a correct decision. But
Do you want to know what gave me some of my highest views? I'm gonna reveal a secret. I'm
okay,
about to reveal a secret, guys. This is a secret for all you up and comers. They won't work anymore today, but um, how I actually started growing my channel, getting the highest views, is I used to leak Palm Beach Confidential newsletters on my channel. True
yeah,
story.
it's
You know why
expensive,
that
right?
stopped?
That
Huh?
newsletter is very expensive.
$3,000 a year, and I'm going to explain to you what $3,000 a year gets you. Because when people really find out how um, marketing and advertising and newsletters work in our space, it's pretty gross. It's pretty damn gross. But I was actually leaking Palm Beach newsletters on my channel. And of course, I was covering news and stuff like that. But that got me super rapid growth. And then one day, Tika Tuari didn't like that too much. And they started flagging my videos. And they hit me with, I think you're at that time, you're only allowed X amount of like copyright strikes or something, like being copy strike. And they brought me to the limit where if I ever gotten one more, the channel would have been taken down. It was like a warning shot, like a shot across the bow. Ever since that day, I never did another like Palm Beach Confidential review. But the crappy thing is, the truth be told, though, when you release Palm Beach Confidential news too soon to your audience, you're actually wrecking them. It's the truth. Um, like, I'll give you an example. One of their more recent recommendations, I think it was in September, word of mouth token, right? Word of mouth token put out in their newsletter. And if you looked at the trading volume that day, that coin should have at least 20x'd with the amount of buy pressure that got hit. But what was happening was the coin was getting bought and the team was selling right into it. It's all coordinated. You know what I mean? The team knows when the letter's coming out. And there's a lot of front runners on things like this too. Because like when a team gets accepted and Tika's going to do an article, some people leak it. You know what I mean? Even though there are probably agreements and probably non-disclosures, a lot of these team members will leak it. You know what I mean? It's kind of a dirty game, you know?
Sure.
But these
What is
team
your
members will sell into it.
what is your opinion on YouTubers with their lists? You know, their top currencies that they might make weekly or monthly or whatever.
Okay, so since this is not my YouTube channel, I'll speak candidly. Um,
It's a great money earner.
I'll speak candidly.
Because I don't think
Not
you
all.
do. I don't believe I've seen that kind of stuff from you.
No, if I put like top coins, it's like I do pick random coins I do think are good. But I do not try to do that. I try not to do that because of the fact that there's a lot of influencers that'll say these are my top 5 coins, top 3 coins. Okay, and what people don't know is these projects that, hey, I will pay you, and these videos pay the most. If a project came to you and said, hey, can you do like a top 5 or top 10 coin, they will pay crazy amount of money for that. I think you've experienced that. I don't know if anyone's hit you for a top video. Maybe not you because you don't have any of those,
Right.
but I've had a few of those in the past. So if you include coins in those kind of categories, they get a lot of watch time and people buy them. A lot of influencers will actually, all the coins that they're talking about will be coins that they already front run on you. They either bought them OTC, so it didn't impact the price, or they got paid in the tokens, plus a little bit of USDT and maybe some BTC on top of it. They go, they put the video out, the coin jumps, you sell into the buying pressure.
So you
It's a
think that
common practice.
the majority of them have, for at least one or two of their picks, been sponsored and not declaring it?
Absolutely.
Huh.
Because I mean, there's ways around it. Like some projects will say, tell you what, how about this? How about, so we don't have to call it sponsored. Some projects will come to you and say, tell you what, how about we will let you buy an allocation, a discounted allocation. You could buy $1,000 worth of coins for $10. At that point, it's not sponsored.
Mm,
It's a gray area. It's a gray area. At that point, you can declare, I'm an investor. But you don't have to declare the fact that you bought discounted tokens, right? And they didn't pay you. You just bought discounted tokens on the OTC market, which that's not an uncommon practice because anytime you buy something OTC, you get a discount. It's common practice. So I mean that's a loophole a lot of these projects will actually use. I mean it's kind of it's a it's a dirty game, but it's a lot of people think of it as being like evil, but the truth be told, it's a necessary evil because the market is made up of primarily retail. And you rely on that retail community to build hype and excitement, and it's not Wall Street. Make sense?
yeah, it's the Wild West. That
It
does
is a
seem.
wild.
It seems like I've never had an email even close to that. I think most of the people that email me for looking to work with me barely know who I am. I definitely get that impression. There's one or two who know me, but for the most part, no. So they're not savvy. They're certainly not coming up with ideas on how to market it. You know, So it feels like if that's going on, then it will be influencers going to the projects and saying, "Look, this is what I want to do," like hustling in that regard. So yeah, I guess my own opinions on it would be that if you watch a video where the influencer is saying these are my top coins, like I know some people will get angry that they have those coins. At the same time, the logic that, well, if you believe in it, you should hold it applies. Unless there was a way that they, like, I think the most moral way to do it, but then again that wouldn't work. So you can say, look, this is my wallet address. Once the video's gone live for like 6 hours, then I'll buy. But then again, you don't know if you've got other wallets, so that doesn't really work. I think that it's good content. I like the idea of, okay, this is what's interesting. I'd like the idea of trying to help your community make money, uh, because you genuinely have done a lot of research and think this is good. Maybe you got like some information, some developers, whatever. But once you reach a certain point in subscribers, in viewership, in engagement, then I feel like it's very much not something you should be doing, because you can cause a 50% price spike for something. And even if you personally did not sell to your community, you are encouraging a lot of people to get wrecked on short time frames because they have this mass frenzy where they buy and buy, and then obviously what happens after 50% correction or 50% jump, it corrects. And so
Damn right it
there'll
does.
be a lot of people that lose money immediately because of your video. A lot of people that did make, but in order to realize those gains, probably not.
Well, here's the truth, and I can tell you, 'cause I mean, there's a lot of bad apples in our space,
Yeah.
but I will say there are some good ones.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
there are some influencers who know that responsibility, that know that when they put that video out there, that podcast, that tweet, they know that there's going to be a financial reaction to it. And some of these guys are actually legitimately concerned about making their community money because they want to be known as like they want to be like a household name in the space as it matures right down the road. So I mean, there are a few guys like that, but unfortunately, there's more guys that see the money in the crypto space. And here's something else. I mean, that like makes me crazy about the crypto space. Like we're talking about one element. We're talking about the influencer end. The other aspect about crypto, there's a shortages of CMOs right now. There is a huge shortage of chief marketing officers. There's a shortage of CTOs, chief technical officers. There is a even larger shortage of CEOs in this space. Um, there's so the crypto space right now has a shortage of manpower. You know what I mean?
Devs.
There's so many ways to make money off of this space. Um, so I mean, the influencers, yes, you have bad apples that are out there taking advantage. Yes, the retail is the one that suffers. But something else that makes me crazy is the retail investors. A lot of these people have skills. A lot of these people have knowledge. A lot of these people have worked in the real world. And a lot of the people that are in cryptocurrency as a retail investor has some sort of experience with um, finance. You know what I mean? Has some with money. It takes that kind of mindset to kind of wrap your minds around that. I guarantee you, there's a lot of qualified people that watch our channels, a lot of qualified people that buy crypto that can fill these spaces and even potentially clean things up to and help remove some of these bad practices. Because I mean, it starts with the projects. That's the truth. You know what I mean? It starts with the projects, and what we're talking about, like what these influencers do, is common practice. It's very common practice. But the practice, I mean, who is the one that really allows it? Is it the influencer or the project that sees the money that can be made, right? Because the influencers, the truth be told, we don't make anything compared to what the projects make. We make we make peanuts. It's the truth.
Yeah. There's always someone getting a large slice of the pie. There is one easy antidote, solution, answer to all of this, and that's Bitcoin maximalism. So,
Oh no, you didn't.
your thoughts on Bitcoin maximalism, please? Pros, cons, especially in light of what we just talked about. You know, because you can
Okay,
say like, "Oh, you're pumping Bitcoin right now," but realistically, if I never made a video, would Bitcoin be $5 cheaper or more expensive? I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit sad to think of. I've had
the
so little
truth
impact
is,
in the world, but there it is.
the truth is, what not a single one of us influencers have the power to move the price of Bitcoin. What is the market cap of Bitcoin right now? Let me pull that up real fast. Not one of us have the Jesus, $353 billion. The audience, I mean, it kills me when people think, oh, you're fine. Yeah, because like when I put some videos out about Bitcoin, right? And I try to look at it practically, people are like, oh, you're just trying to FUD it so you can buy cheap Bitcoin. I wish I had the power to influence a market cap of $353
I
billion.
think they're the minority idiots that actually believe that.
But Bitcoin maximalism, it's there's pros and cons. Pros, you're in a safe spot. Uh, you don't have to worry about a pump and dump. You do not have to worry about the fact that you're going to get scammed. I mean, there's a lot of security, right? So, I mean, if you're looking for that safe space, slow, steady, still uncertain, but it's still safe in regards to all the other risks that come from altcoins. Bitcoin is your huckleberry, but you have to also keep in mind that at the rate we are moving right now, Bitcoin is becoming an institutional product. Look at the regulations they're putting out there. Look at how hard Wall Street is fighting to get an ETF out there. And in order to get an ETF out there, they're shutting down leverage trading platforms, right? So it's becoming an institutional product. It's it's doing what gold did in the 70s. It took remember gold was owned by the common man. Everyone had gold. They're taking that away from them, taking away Bitcoin now. So I mean the Bitcoin maximalism is if you're looking for the opportunity to achieve wealth in a short amount of time, change your stars, or or looking for a way to make more money, it's hard to do that with Bitcoin,
Mm.
and it's getting increasingly harder. Um, that's where I feel like altcoins that it's like a it's an evil, a necessary evil. But I've seen it. I've seen it in 2017, and I know you've seen it in 2017, where a person took $1,000 and became a millionaire. I've seen situations where people have taken $1,000 starting in 2019 and today, right now, heading into 2021. If they're not close to a millionaire, they're not far from it. You know what I mean? The the gains you can make with altcoins. Uh, I don't know. It's just if that's what you're looking for. I mean, if you're looking for the idea of like slow, steady, an institutional product, I used to say if you're looking for the revolution to where we're using the people's currency, can't say that anymore about Bitcoin because it's not the people's currency anymore. No one uses it as a currency. So I mean, it's a tricky subject. I mean, I don't know how, but in your perspective, because I mean, I've been working more on the back end of crypto, right? You've been working on different areas of the back end of crypto, like you had ideas of different business opportunities in there. So your perspective of Bitcoin, I know this year has got to be different than it was in previous years. So I mean, how do you feel about maximalism?
Um, there's a lot to dissect here. So
I know it's how do you answer that in a simple way?
yeah,
It's like, come on.
so I would prefer Bitcoin maximalism over altcoin maximalism. The best term is altcoin minimalism because I understand that there's a part of the community that would like to make the money, and there's a part of the community that would like sovereignty. The
Right.
one that wants money is quite large. I think back to the DeFi hype that we had a few months ago, and how that's like once in a 2, 3, 4 year cycle we have those types of opportunities where it was like a mini .com era. We saw a boom and a bust, and an eventual resurgence. But out of about maybe 10 coins that I was interested in and bought and was looking to, like, 2 3x and jump out, I had two that did. When I mean well, I mean one of those ones that can make up for 9 losses if one just does really, really well. I had two of those and eight that lost money, right? Like, maybe if I sold them at a certain time, I would have made money, but eight of them lost money. Two of them did really, really well. So at the end of the day, I was up. But those types of odds make it very risky. And so it's kind of like the antithesis of wealth preservation, sovereignty, where you give it away and you expose yourself to rug pulls, to hacks, to uh, all sorts, losing your money, losing your sovereignty. So it's like, it's as you say, I guess, a necessary evil. There are no such things as get rich quick. I mean, you can argue that it occurs in crypto, but realistically, you're taking on a ton of risks in order to make that happen, and you're very lucky. But yeah, so with regards to Bitcoin, you were mentioning that it's an institutional led thing now. It's a mainly institutional owned coin, no longer the people's currency. I kind of feel like if that's true, which I'm not necessarily saying it's not, but if it was, then retail has missed out. They had 10 years. They had their opportunity. And Bitcoin will sort itself out in the sense that it'll reward those who believe in it, who are going to buy it. And if it's going to be institutions now, then you know what? It's so I had this conversation with someone on Twitter. He was posting about this story. In the 1970s, it became known as the Silver Brothers incident, where they tried to buy most of the silver market, and they were billionaires, but they took out huge loans and leverage in order to buy up as much silver as they could in order to play the futures market, crash it, and make bank. The law was changed so that you couldn't, like, realistically do that as a result of them, and it ended up making them, they lost a lot of money in the process. Anyway, he was trying to liken that to what MicroStrategy is doing. They're buying up all the Bitcoin and whatever else, and he was trying to make that comparison, that this is really bad. And I said, is this a bullish comparison you're trying to make? He's like, no, it's bearish. And I said, well, why? Because the Silver Brothers were trying to buy up to trade it, whereas MicroStrategy, it's in the name. It's a capital allocation. It's a reserve allocation. It's like gold, right? It's not really, like, obviously you sell it, I guess, eventually, but realistically you might never sell it. I don't know. Like, I would love to see some sort of change for Bitcoin where there's some sort of cash flow for holders, but I guess it wasn't designed to be a store of value in that sense. It was only designed to be spent, so they will sell it eventually, but they're not looking to trade it. And I still don't know if the institutional involvement is all that bad. I guess, anyone with too much power is bad, and it's better if it was more decentralized, more spread out. But we've had 10 years now, and if people aren't going to get more by now, then that's kind of on them. That was a lot to unpack, but
No, but here's something to think about. I'm familiar with that story. At that time, it was also during the time that regulators were regulating physical assets like that, physical commodities like gold and silver. Once they got those regulatory, once they got that body of regulation in there, um, you got to remember they're pushing the ETFs and the derivative products on people and storing the physical, like storing the gold, storing the
mm-hmm.
silver, which we still do today. Uh, we do that today. I believe with more institutional involvement, 5 years from now, especially with the KYC that's potentially coming out with the comptroller of the currency here in the US, if they KYC every wallet that wants to send crypto to an exchange that has a fiat pairing, right? We're just one more step closer to where physical ownership of Bitcoin becomes more difficult. It makes less sense for the average person, not for everybody. Whereas I believe when that starts happening and it gets more difficult, like it did for gold, Owning gold became difficult. Cashing out gold became difficult for a while. I believe what will happen is they're going to start shoving the derivative products down the consumer's throat. When that ETF goes live, I believe it's not physical gold, physical Bitcoin that's going to be bought. It's going to be the derivatives, the paper products that are backed by actual Bitcoin. We already have more Bitcoin in existence than 21. There's 21 million Bitcoin that's ever supposed to exist. Most people don't think about the fact that's not true anymore. It's not actually true anymore because we're trading so much in the derivatives now than we are in the actual physical. The derivative Bitcoin right now has a massive amount of volume, and the CME doubled their amount of derivative contracts already. They did that at the beginning of this year, and because of the halving, they had to keep the balance, right? So I mean, it's like I don't know. I don't think that institutional involvement is going to equal everyone gets rich quick with Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to equal easier for the average Joe. I do believe it's going to be at some point regulated just like gold and silver to where when you start really playing with it, you have to go through a licensed broker, a licensed someone licensed and accredited, and you probably have to be like an accredited investor as well. It'd be something stupid like that. I guarantee you is coming in the next, I don't know how long, but we'll see it that way. Here in America, anyways. I don't know about Europe and the UK, but I know how my government likes to work. It's pretty vicious.
Well, let's go back to the comptroller statement. So the comptroller was on a interview, and it wasn't the comptroller that talked about these regulations. It was a
Brian Armstrong.
very liked man, Brian Armstrong, indeed,
Yeah.
and saying that it was a rumor that this was going to be maybe pushed out by Steve Mnuchin as he's leaving the White House as a final parting gift to us. And it was the comptroller who was saying that we're not looking to kill Bitcoin. Some of these aggrandizing statements that you really probably can't say that anyway because you can't really do it. But not going to kill it. We're not going to stifle it. There should be more good news before the end of the year, and something about banks connecting to blockchains and whatever else. So I think mostly that was very positive. If what you say about a paper-backed ETF is true, that would really suck. That would really take out a lot of potential growth for Bitcoin because there was a news article I was reading today, some Wall Street dude, I don't remember his name, wanting to put 5% of
There's
his net
so
worth.
many of them.
There's so many. 5% of his net worth into a Bitcoin ETF, but he can't really do it before because he needs that regulatory clarity that an SEC approved ETF would provide. And yeah, it does seem to be the US government's motive to not approve things that are beneficial to Bitcoin, but detract from it. So yeah, I could see that happening. I hope it doesn't.
But, my friend, here's the funny thing. It's beneficial to Bitcoin to read out the retailers. If you look at it, the retailer right now, and you ask them, why do you buy Bitcoin? None of them buy Bitcoin because they believe in its philosophies. None of them. They buy Bitcoin because they believe someday it's going to be worth a crazy amount of money, and then they're going to sell it. That right there, that process of buying and selling, that's commissions that Wall Street brokers are missing out on. That's commissions that traders and other brokers are missing out on. Because if you go buy a stock, you buy a bond, someone gets a commission from that, right? From that action. There's money being missed. So where I'm going with this is if you're looking just at the health of the Bitcoin price and the finances of Bitcoin, the tokenomics, the financial ecosystem, however you want to say it, weeding out the retailers and putting it in the hands of the institutions is actually the best thing for it. It'll get more stability. It'll be much more reliable. The Wild West of it will be gone. It'll be regulated. The only downside to it, though, is those who are going to yield the most fruit from it are going to have a lot more money than you and I and anyone watching this podcast right now. That's the truth.
Well, yes. Again, though, we had 10 years. There was that
I
whole
know.
Silk Road stoners are probably some of the wealthiest Bitcoiners right now. And the world's funny like that. But yeah, there is definitely a law of attraction, a law of attrition, where the rich will get richer. And sadly, I don't think Bitcoin is necessarily going to be able to beat that inevitability.
Do you remember when everyone used to talk about the Bitcoin was going to be the next global currency? And it was actually earlier this year that narrative was going around. The US dollar was going to fail and Bitcoin was going to be the next global currency. Everyone talked about that earlier this year, not and no one does anymore. Um, how would you measure your wealth if the US dollar failed, right? Because $1 million Bitcoin or a $20,000 Bitcoin that we have today is only a $20,000 Bitcoin because it's backed by 20,000 US dollars. So if the US dollar fails and it's no longer an established currency and it no longer holds any weight, right? And remember, the price of gold is also established in US dollar and the amount of wealth it was. I mean, one time you can say an ounce of gold was worth, I don't know, a cup of coffee. I mean, being sarcastic here, right? But how do you establish your wealth with Bitcoin? Like, I mean, there's a lot of, like, I know a lot of Bitcoiners that actually, they have substantial amounts of Bitcoin, pretty impressive amounts of Bitcoin, and they could be classified as wealthy today by the current standards. But how would you classify someone who's truly a wealthy Bitcoiner without US dollar?
So I know what you're asking, and it's a hard question, right? It should make you think, oh, how do you establish a value for something that has no basis? The I don't agree that it would be a global reserve currency. It's not going to happen. It's like wars have been fought over much less, and
Yeah.
yeah, just people need to get that out of their heads. Um,
Good luck.
yeah, like I definitely see it as better than gold, but I don't see it as replacing fiat currency at all, because you need to be able to do things like get a mortgage in a non in an inflation in a deflationary currency. Like that is
Thank you.
such a bad idea that it would just break the system and it wouldn't work. And there's other examples. Any type of loan just wouldn't work. Um, there's just no way that they would allow it. Even if you could make the argument, oh, you could do it this way, you could do it that. Maybe there are some Bitcoin mortgages that already exist. The government wouldn't ever give up that power because, like I say, wars have been fought over much less than that.
When you break it down like that, I mean, break it down into like things like conflict. There's been smaller, stupider reasons for war and conflict. I mean, I think a Bitcoin based monetary system would be absolutely
I'd love to see it. I'm not
catastrophic.
saying that. I'd love to see it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know what's
I mean,
also
okay.
funny?
Yeah.
They talk about Bitcoin must not be used to finance terrorism, etc., when
Oh yeah.
it's the USD, it's the GBP, it's the yen, it's this that finances it, and Bitcoin, if anything, is quite a peaceful currency. The hypocrisy is a bit much, especially this week with the news that came out.
Chain analysis does a fantastic job at tracking the blockchain.
Hmm.
Anybody who used Bitcoin for crime is a complete, I
An
can't
open
say that
ledger for
word.
crime, yeah, nice,
Yeah, he's a complete
nice.
idiot. Okay. What group on earth, even if you use a mixer, like if you even use Wasabi Wallet, chain analysis technology has gotten good enough to where even a mixer like Wasabi, I mean, is not foolproof. And the amount of Bitcoin you're talking about moving, I mean, it's really hard to hide that. It's really,
Really
really
hard.
incredibly hard to
You have
hide.
to go to an ATM and you have to pay like 30% premiums. I don't know how bad it is,
Yeah,
15%.
I don't
You
know.
have to wear a hood and a hat, and you have to go to the different ones, and it's just you won't pull out 100 grand. Like yeah,
For the next year.
yeah,
I mean, it's how long it would take.
yeah.
But that's why I hate that idea when people talk about Bitcoin as a currency of crime. And every time I see the news, I'm like, go to here in the U.S. border. If you go to the U.S. Mexico border, all right, our border is very famous because of the fact that we have a lot of crime and drugs that come through that border. Okay, but if you go to that border and you look at what Border Patrol is looking for, I guarantee you, not a single one of those agents are looking for a ledger, a treasure, are looking for someone else's Bitcoin or cryptocurrency holdings. They're looking for cash, stacks and stacks and stacks of cash. And this cash will pay for drugs, prostitution, weapons. I mean, you name it, anything illegal is done in cash. So I mean, that's such a relevant argument to talk about Bitcoin as the currency of crime. Because I mean, tell you, go commit a crime with Bitcoin. I guarantee they'll find you. Guarantee whenever they go and they collect evidence, they can say, "Hey, guess what? This AWAD over here used, you know, XYZ cryptocurrency. Sent him to XYZ wallets. Sent XYZ actual amounts. He was paid XYZ amounts by this person over here." You know what I mean? It's just like, why would I don't get it. I think it's a that the media's way, or maybe their government's way of trying to scare those who don't understand the technology, because people do fear what they don't know.
Yeah, I think they use ignorance as a source of power quite a lot. I watched a TikTok today, not randomly
Oh
changing the
boy.
subject. This does have relevance. She compared these two notes, and she's like, "Why is this $5 and this one's 10? Like, what kind of system is that? They're the same piece of paper, but we're saying, so why can't we just like make more money? And yeah, I get inflation, but why don't we just say no? Let's keep the prices the same." Obviously, that's not going to work. But her point was, why can't we just print loads of money? Just don't tell anybody. Like she literally said those words: just print a lot of money, just don't tell anybody, and so like it doesn't inflate. And I had to retweet that because that is exactly what is happening with. I think it's calculated now. If it's not higher, I don't know. It's around 35% of all United States dollars in the last 10 months has been created. 35% inflation. And yeah, it's not going directly to the like it's not getting directly circulated, but it will eventually. It goes to, the banks who use it between themselves, and then eventually it's going to be uh, put out into assets, into bonds, into the stock market. It's going to be also quantitative eased, right? Because they can turn that
Mm-hmm.
money into maybe 10 times more. And oh man, the ignorance that people don't know that they're essentially being robbed blind by their governments who are doing exactly what this girl was saying, and said and thought it was a good thing, and thought maybe, you know childishly, that if we did create a lot of money, then it would be spread out fairly. But no, the people who have the power to do that are going to keep it for themselves, even if it is just the banks. People that approve these laws and whatever else own lots of stock market. They own lots of these bonds. They will get benefit, and so they're happy with it. Terrible
Ed
scenario.
Snowden. Ed Snowden tweeted something interesting today. It falls in line with what you're talking about right now. He said, today I learned a dollar has lost 99.93% of its value since 2013 relative to Bitcoin."
Yeah, and he also he put out another post after that saying, by the way, I last tweeted about Bitcoin when it was 5K, so don't come at me with that buying at all time high crap. He's been in the
Yeah, he
space for a
did say
while.
that. He did say that. He was actually one of the first adopters of using Bitcoin as a currency.
That's right.
Him and Julian Assange. It's very ironic about this. The first two people that really utilize Bitcoin as a currency, not
Mm.
as a store of value, not as a hodl, not as Wall Street's going to buy it, make me rich, but as a true currency of freedom. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and both of those human beings are like going to be put away in dungeons. You know what I mean? I mean, Assange, no one ever hears about him ever anymore. And that guy, his life is miserable, but he was actually, most people don't even know this. It was actually Assange is the reason why Bitcoin went live sooner than it was supposed to. Satoshi was actually pretty upset that Assange was doing a little bit more reveals about Bitcoin at that time than he should have.
I think Bitcoin was out at the time, but Assange was responsible for baiting the government and saying, "Look, I'm going to be using this, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." And Satoshi got scared,
That's
talked about him
that's what it
kicking the
was.
hornet nest, talking about, okay, now they're going to come, and then he left after that, disappeared.
That's the
Very
one.
interesting story, that whole
Is he
stuff.
dead or alive? Satoshi.
Probably dad. It's just the amount of money that you're talking about to not move a penny is just unreasonable, I suppose, to still be alive. Maybe he's a wealthy man. Maybe he's got other coins. Who knows? In some ways, I hope he's doing very, very well. In some ways, it doesn't matter.
Well, here's the thing about this: if he's not dead, if he's not dead, then if you created this, right, and you've seen how Bitcoin is evolving, what's going on, you've seen Grayscale being the largest holder outside of him of Bitcoin currently. And also, Grayscale is one of the largest purchaser on a weekly basis of Bitcoin outside of MicroStrategy, I think it is. That's the second largest purchaser.
I have no idea. But as
I remember
far as
who's
I'm aware,
second, but
MicroStrategy is not doing a recurring purchase.
they're not. Okay, so um, and you see that it is becoming the candy of Wall Street. If he was still alive, it would not surprise me to watch. Wait, he would wait for the billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to be spent on infrastructure for Bitcoin to be that institutional product, and then him start bleeding the market. He could really throw a serious wrench in that entire operation if he wanted to.
I just think it more
Be
likely
interesting.
that he would have done by now. I think it's more
Yeah,
like I can understand talking about it and being afraid about it. I just also feel like it's probably more
I'm not
likely that
afraid.
he's not going to at this
I
point.
wish that would happen. I do. I wish Bitcoin would have a reset. It's kind
Okay,
of like,
that's a
yeah,
controversial statement.
I know it's a controversial. I do wish Bitcoin would have a reset. I wish Bitcoin would become a bad idea for Wall Street to get into. I wish people would have a second chance with it, like a real second chance. I do. I know it
I
sounds crazy.
I understand what you're saying, but I also completely disagree because one of the ways Bitcoin is set up is inflationary, and it's not. There's a certain level that you need to get to where demand needs to outpace new supply, and once you get there, great. But if you get under that again, there's no guarantee you're ever going to get back into that situation. Now, halvings are going to help that, but once you're there, once demand is outpacing supply, it's risky to ever go back to the other way. Very risky. There's no guarantee of it ever coming back.
That's a good point. I can't argue with that point. That's a good point. I guess in my mind, it's fun to think of something that could disrupt the institutional model and just give it back to the people again. It's wishful thinking. I know it
Yeah.
is.
The problem, though, is that with retail, again, it will take us 10 years to get where we are at now. I guess it's like, what is it? 20 million% gain since, a cent. But I think a lot of us have been here for a little while, and I think our communities would probably benefit more from it going to the moon now as versus it going really down and maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, power to the people, but people also need to sell, and that's one of the things I don't like about Bitcoin. Or it is what it is that in order to realize gains, you must sell. You must exit your position. That's one thing that you can say about the stock market is that if you're okay holding, then at least you can get some cash flow, some dividends, but
Dividends. That's right.
not with Bitcoin. And, I'm hoping Ethereum, if we're going to talk about altcoins now, Ethereum is my biggest holding. And because they haven't decided on their monetary, you know, whatever they're going to do forever hasn't been set. Yeah, currently they've just got permanent inflation and they haven't decided what they're going to do full time. But there is a chance that once ETH 2.0 is finally finished, that they could create a deflationary model and reward holding. And yeah, I guess it's not technically a currency in that respect, but
When is ETH 2.0 actually going to go live? That's the question.
well, the test net essentially. I mean, you can argue it's out now. It just doesn't really have a lot of the features. Well, any of the features. Let's be honest. It has
So,
a
speaking of ETH, all right, I agree with you. ETH is actually kind of that second chance. right there, right? But you mentioned DeFi earlier today, and you mentioned how it was like the DeFi boom, and then no one talks about it. The truth be told, DeFi is actually stronger now
Yeah,
than
no,
it was when all the
DeFi's
retail knew about it.
back. It's just it has
Yes.
that negative stigma. Yearn is probably my third biggest altcoin.
Well, DeFi is at $14.63 billion right now, total value locked. That's monstrous over
And
the course of a year.
I don't even know if that is including the 1% of all Ethereum, which is now staked in the Beacon. I think they're calling it the Beacon chain, which is like
Yes,
the
and it's
backbone for ETH 2.0, which is a lot
I
of money,
don't
1% of all
I don't
ETH.
see it in here. I
Okay.
need to do some research on that to see if it's
I
actually
think it's like
included
300
in here.
million, so it doesn't maybe matter too much, but
Well, that would put us if it's 300 million, that would put us at right at 15 billion.
okay. Something like that, I think.
So we'll say between 14.6 and 15 billion. But that being said, like I don't know if you do a lot of liquidity mining or what
Not
kind
I
of DeFi.
used to, not now.
Okay, so I do. I have a lot of liquidity pools that I use. One primarily through Haka Finance. Some days, whenever I go and claim my rewards from my liquidity pool, 90 cents, right? 90 cents to claim, a nice amount of Haka, and then I go and I upload it into the pool, right? And then I get the pool. I get a separate token. When I get that token, that transaction might be $1, sometimes $2. And then I take that new token and I go ahead and plug it back into the liquidity pool. It could be $5. Um, this past weekend, there was a day where claiming the reward was like $20. Loading it into the pool and exchanging it was pretty expensive. It was like 40 or $50. And then I went and put it back in the pool again to earn more rewards. You know what I mean? That's like another $20 or so. And I actually had a time. There was actually a day when all this was crazy. It was like $80. Where I'm going with this is, do you think even with ETH 2.0, right? And ETH 2.0 is full capacity. It's not here in the near future. It's a long ways out there. But do you think Ethereum is actually going to be able to keep up with what DeFi is doing and keep gas fees manageable?
Well, I'm not an expert by any stretch, but from what I know, yes, because of the way sharding works, is that you will have a part of the network that can do everything that you need, and it's only like 100th of the entire network. So uh, it would essentially be like using an altcoin in order to transact with, which is very cheap because not many people are using it. And then eventually it's settled on the Beacon chain, which is the thing that's just gone live, which has the entire history of what's going on with each different shard. So theoretically, yes. Vitalik did a presentation about the theoretical TPS of ETH 2.0, and it's in like a million or something like that.
Hmm, that's interesting. But how far away are we from that? Are we from the sharding aspect of ETH? I
Well,
think it's like 2022 ish, somewhere around there. So I
yeah.
know
So
2021 is supposed to be more of the basics, right?
I actually don't know. As far as I'm aware,
Somewhere.
it's always been a technological marvel to pull this off, especially when they were first coming up with the idea of sharding in like 2016 or whatever it was. The technology has never been created before. So, um, will it ever come out? Like the Lightning Network and stuff. I think a little bit of healthy skepticism is fair, but I don't know. I kind of feel like it's going to happen, and when, I don't know, but I think it will.
I don't know. Lightning Network, you know why that disappeared, in my opinion?
Sorry,
Because,
why did it disappear?
yeah, Lightning Network, you know why I think that disappeared?
Mm, go on. I have a theory, but go on.
I think it disappeared because of the fact that it allowed Bitcoin to be used as money. Let me rephrase it, more effectively be used as money.
Um,
You have some thoughts about this one.
no, I'm
I see
just
the
trying.
stress.
Like, I don't. Who? You know what I mean? It's like it's a decentralized network. There are players that can play, and there are some that can be against it, some that can be for it. Like, I don't know. So when we talk about conspiracy theories, right? We talk about
Mhm.
You know, there's plenty of things that are going on in the world. On average, people are getting um, dumber. Actually, uh, they're getting less healthy. They're getting fatter. You know, there's loads of things, right? Um, and I think about, okay, is there an organization that is wanting to make people docile, easy to control, etc., etc., some sort of controlling body? And I think that the answer, most likely, if you're a rational person, is that it's a bit of both. It's a bit of the fact that people as human beings have these innate tendencies to want to be lazy, to want to not, read and whatever else. But it's also other people that will take advantage of those situations and will push their own agendas. And so it's a bit of both, right? Do I agree that there's a controlling body over Bitcoin they don't want things to be a certain way? Yes, I would, but I also don't think that they're the sole responsible. Like, I don't think they have that much power, and it'll only be trying to take advantage of our own tendencies and our own shortcomings. So, in a sense, they exist, but they're not as powerful as. And that's just my thoughts. I don't know. I think bad actors exist, but I don't think they're all powerful, unless we give them it.
Well, let me unpackage some of what you're saying here. The lazy aspect, I want to address that first. It's true. The human brain is designed to keep you as comfortable as possible. Take, for instance, that's why not everyone can go to the gym and work out. Because when you go to the gym and you build muscle, it hurts.
Mm.
It's uncomfortable. That's why not everyone's rich. Because if you want to go out there and make a crap ton of money, you have to do something that's going to make you uncomfortable, unhappy. And that's the truth. Everyone talks about do what you love, do what you love. You don't get to do what you love until you actually made it, in my opinion, because there's a struggle to get there, right?
Yeah.
You have to be unhappy. You have to be a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
You do. You just have to be a glutton for punishment. That's why not everybody is actually happy. If you want to be happy, you have to be willing to do things that make you uncomfortable. You have to be
Yeah.
willing to try things you never tried before. And that's the truth. And we live in a world of complacency. We live in a world of I got my phone. I got this right here. If I want food, pick up the phone. If I want to read a book, pick up the phone. If I
Mm-hmm.
want sex, pick up the phone. Okay. Doesn't matter what I want. Pick up the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel that plays in to where society has become so dependent on these little digital devices. I feel that has crippled people. And if there was a superpower out there, if there was an entity out there that was waiting for the perfect time to pounce on people and put people in check and put people in a position to where they had end-to-end control of their lives, now's the time. And I feel it's because of the of our cell phones. I really do. Have you seen, by the way, okay, this kind of fits in what we're talking. Have you seen that documentary, The Social Dilemma?
I have not.
Oh my gosh. You have to watch that. And we have to talk about that in our next podcast
Right.
because we both work in YouTube.
Yep.
Okay. We both work in the world of social media where we work in the world where we provide people with information.
Is this Netflix, by the way?
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
And we also, okay, we contribute to people's, how can you say this? We contribute to people's laziness in a lot of ways because we provide them with information. We
True.
provide them with what it is that they don't want to go out there and learn. We give them an easy platform to do that. When we and you first started doing this, like in the 2016, 2017 area, there's really not a lot of easy stuff out there. And what was available was designed to work against you to take your money. All right. So the information's changed. We try to provide good information. And we get this because we go seek it. We research it. We bug people. The general population doesn't want to do that because we provide that easy platform. And on top of that easy platform, we provide advertisement. It's just, you have to watch The Social Dilemma. It makes me want to take this thing right here. If my work didn't depend on this, if the money I have today did not depend on this, I wouldn't have it. Swear to God, I wouldn't have it.
funnily enough, I don't use social media. It's weird to say that as a YouTuber with a Twitter account, but like my Instagram is mainly managed by my wife. I never used Facebook, a personal one. I never used personal Twitter. Um, but I feel like in watching this, I might not want to continue with my channel because I've also had lots of thoughts about, like there was this one book I read and it was about trading. It was a story about how a guy went from nothing to like 3 million in a year from trading, and he talked about the devastating effects of following the news cycle. And he gave so many examples of every time the news says something, the opposite happens, as though it was one of the greatest counter trade indicators. And I felt bad because I was someone who talked about the news, and if there was bullish news, then that was bullish. Um, there is a degree because there are good news that come out while Bitcoin's at the beginning of a bull run, and there's good news that comes out at the end. But it's a funny, maybe there's some blissful ignorance here. I don't know if that's going to be the case from watching this, but I'll take it
Oh
under
no.
advisement.
You get to meet, you get to get, I can't say meet, you get to get an introduction to the person who made the like button.
Okay.
The like button is been the bane of every human being's existence on earth right now.
True.
Because everybody wants that instant gratification. Right?
True.
That's what this provides. Remember,
True.
food, knowledge, sex, instant gratification right here. And we used to get that instant gratification from our closest friends, our
Mm,
family, your social circle that were flesh and blood. Now our social circles are all revolve around people we don't even know, right? So we put something out there. We put a picture of what we're eating. We're hoping people like. You put a picture and you're on your phone, like, why hasn't anyone liked it yet?
okay.
Maybe I should
I
change the angle.
I hate that kind of thing. I can't do that. But yeah,
I
it
know.
it goes into what I was talking about, where is it like a world domineering type of person that's created this system in order to manipulate us, keep us docile and whatever else? And no, but is it someone who is taking advantage of a current situation, using our inherent weaknesses as a way of exploiting them to a degree? Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook's well documented. Yes, absolutely. That's definitely
Oh yeah.
happening.
I don't know if there's been like that ultimate power, but I'll say again, if that power exists right now with the whole social media lifestyle, instant gratification lifestyle, and how that plays upon people's weaknesses of trying to stay as comfortable as possible, right? That now's a perfect time to go in there and control the world. That's all I got to say. You have to watch that, The Social Dilemma. I mean,
All
you
right.
have to watch that. You can't tell me your thoughts on that until next podcast.
Okay.
You have to, because I think everyone who watches our channels who hasn't seen it yet will have a great appreciation for our input on that, because I actually worry about my audience on something. Like, when the market is struggling, people run to Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, now TikTok, and seek some sort of a psychological relief and hoping an influencer is going to say, don't worry, this is just a little gully and we're going to take off again. Or we're at the very top. They want to go online and hope that every influencer is going to keep feeding them that hopium and make them believe that the price is never going to drop. All right.
Yeah.
And
That's
if
what I
anyone says
want when I
anything on the
watch you.
if you say anything on the contrary, you're ostracized. But when I think about like things like The Social Dilemma, and I see how the impact of social media is, and I think about the community, it really makes me wonder if some of us influencers are doing more harm to people's lives than good, because of the fact that many people are already crippled and they're looking for that easy option. And then we're providing an addict, more or less, right? An addict with a little bit more drugs to hold you over a little more, hold you over a little more. Oh, don't worry. Bull Run 2021. If you're wrecked today, you won't be wrecked tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know.
in some
It,
ways I
it's
have these concerns as well, and I think it contributes to my attitude on YouTube, in which I don't take it seriously all that much, and I view myself as more of a I don't know how I view myself, but I try and bring entertainment and not take it too seriously. I don't know what's going to happen, and therefore what happens happens.
you definitely bring the lighter side of crypto. That's for sure. And I think it's something. I think that's why your channel's done so well. Is you bring the lighter side, you bring the humor, you bring the fun, and not many people catch the amount of objective information you bring to the table because you're really good at taking something really objective that's really meaningful and kind of passing it off in there, kind of a funny, light toned way to where the community's not going to smack you in the head,
Mm,
right? But unfortunately, you do. It's so frustrating because you're really good at packaging objective information in there in such a light way, and the audience, it's easy for them to just to shrug it off and pay attention to the bullish news. You know what I mean? It makes me nuts because I've watched several of your videos where you laid out super objective things. I'll take, for instance, I saw that video. I watched it again the other day where you mentioned you were doing some research somewhere and you found a graph talking about how during a time of a bull market, it's very clear that wells are selling into the retail buy pressure
yes.
in such small amounts in such a long period of time that it goes unnoticed. And that when the market's tanking, the data shows that they're buying
Mm.
small amounts through a long period of time unnoticed. I don't know. It's just, but you put that out there and it seems like not very many people really paid attention to that.
That is
It's like,
probably one of the most important things that I've learned in recent times is that's exactly what they're looking for. The huge volume spikes at the top of a rally is such a
yeah,
scary thing, and the huge volumes for a massive down candle is such a bullish thing when we're trained to think of the opposite. You know, that
yeah.
crash in March, how scary was that? But if you look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
charts, that volume was such a buy signal. Like, it comes around once every 2-3 years. It's a signal that strong. So,
Yeah.
but we've been talking now for a minute, so I guess we'll wrap it up here, and we'll thank people for watching,
Yes.
and yeah, we'll get on out of here. Thank you to anyone that's been watching until now, hearing us waffle.
Hey, people actually watched us all the way through last time. So if they watched us all the way through this time, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And we'll try to make this a Monday thing.
Yeah, unless it was a dead week or I don't feel like speaking to you because you were objective about Bitcoin or something, then
Hey, maybe we should bring in Fiat Daily one day.
I think you might find it hard to talk to him for an hour. He's a bit of an airhead, but if he's paid, like $2, it might make an appearance. Yeah,
I can afford that.
he takes
All
fiat.
right, man.
All right,
All right, man.
good chatting. Until next time.
Likewise. Until next time.
Bye bye.